Hello and welcome back to the grim truth as it has become. That's what we do here. We speak the truth and wonder why we need a haircut and haven't done that lately. Because I don't look in the mirror like constantly, so these things. This is a video about Yom Teru or Yom Teru or Teruah. It's also kind of known as Rosh Hashanah or something along those lines, but I don't keep up with that. That is not in my book anywhere, so that's a no for my account. Yom Teruah is how I'm trying to say this. T-E-U little thingy A-H. Yom Teruah. It is found in the Bible in many places. What this is a high Sabbath. A high Sabbath is a day such as the Sabbath. The Shabbat is like every Saturday is a Shabbat, but we have other Shabbats or other Sabbaths throughout the year. It usually fall in line with biblical holidays. Now, Yom Teruah is a biblical holiday. That's what we are talking about, because the biblical holiday is the evening of the 26th through the 27th from the calendar that I am going by. There are other people that are doing it. I think actually on the 26th, which is today at the recording of this video. I think today's the 26th. Yeah, and so the evening of the 26th through the 27th would be from the calendar I'm going by. And I'll get into that in just a minute. It's mentioned in so many different places in the Bible. It is commanded to us in the Torah, or the Torah. In Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23 goes through most of the biblical holidays, if not all of them, the biblical feasts. But this particular high Sabbath is a little bit different than your typical Sabbath, as in on a normal Sabbath, you're not supposed to cook any raw foods, things like that. That's not something you do on the Sabbath typically. There's a few interpretations on that some people will take that to the extreme. Some people will not adhere to that. Me and my family do. We don't cook anything raw on Shabbat. We don't do anything like that. We do reheat food. We reheat anything that's fully cooked or pre-cooked the night before. We'll do that. But the difference between this particular high Sabbath of Yom Teruah is that you can cook. It is a feast day. You are commanded to feast on this day. If you don't know what a feast is, think of Thanksgiving Day dinner for American blaspheming holidays. Thanksgiving Day dinner would be a feast. Typically for most people, you cook a big meal. You come together as a people, as a family, and everybody celebrates whatever they think they're celebrating that particular day. Sorry for the wind if you're getting that in the microphone. It's blowing through the windows of the car. There's a tree right in front of me. The leaves are all turning red. We're not even out of September yet, and we already got color changing on our trees. I've actually seen leaves falling. So we are, temperatures today are beautiful. It's in the upper 60s. Tonight is lower 50s to upper 40s. But this isn't a weather video. Yom Teruah. Alright, I'm going to go through some verses here. I'm going to start with Leviticus. And I am using Bible.com on a phone for this because it's a lot easier to flip through than it is to flip through the book. So, let's get into it. Leviticus 23, verse 23, if my research doesn't fail me. So, starting at verse 23, Leviticus chapter 23. And Yahweh spoke to Mosheh, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th new moon, on the 7th month, on the first day of the new moon, you have a rest, a remembrance of Teruah. You do no servile work, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh. So that's pretty much the commandment right there. That is the command in the Torah, of when you're supposed to do this and kind of how you're supposed to do this in remembrance of Teruah. And we will get into that just a little bit because I'm not 100% on this because there's a bit of conflicting information. Essentially, the word Yom means day of. So Yom Teruah. And Teruah is a day of shouting, a day of noise, if the translations don't fail me. One teaching that I like about this is people say that, a few of the pastors that I listen to say that it is a remembrance or a rehearsal, not a remembrance, a rehearsal for the coming of Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ. It's a rehearsal for when he comes. We are going to be shouting, all as one voice, making noise. That is one of the things. So right there, and that's the first commandment we have. That's from the Father, the Most High, Yahweh, Yahuwah. Yah himself is giving this to Moshe, to Moses, saying, you will do this at this particular time. Now, on the 7th month, obviously we're in September right now, so you consider this to be the 9th month, right? Not according to the Hebrew calendar. If you go by the Hebrew calendar, the months are a little different, just a little different than what you will find in the American calendar. So keep that in mind. We are doing this by then. Now, how they determine the new moons is, there's actually one of the pastors that I follow has spotters in Israel, the nation state of Israel over there near Jerusalem, or Jerusalem, and they are watching for the moon. Now, you could go by NASA information, probably a lot easier, just saying. But yeah, that's just, that's a whole other video of Hebrew calendars, a whole other video. So I'm going to go into a couple more things here about Yom Teruah, if I'm saying that correctly. I hope I am. Numbers 10, starting at verse 1. Numbers 10, starting at verse 1. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, make 2 silver trumpets for yourself. Make them of beaten work, and you shall use them for the gathering of the congregation and for breaking camp. So, this is basically talking about the shofars, but these are metal shofars. Trumpets and shofars are different in my book. They're different. A lot of people will use the trumpet for the Yom Teruah, for the celebration. They'll use the metal ones. A lot of people will do as I do, and we will acquire ourselves a kosher animal's horn shofar. That's what I have here. And yes, I acquired that because the Bible instructs me to do certain things at certain times, such as Yom Teruah. It also instructs me to blow this thing and get good with it. And maybe I'll give you a demonstration before the end of this video. Maybe. There is one of the channels that I follow is Triumph in Truth. They are having a live stream. I believe it's at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the 27th. And that is a Yom Teruah celebration. There's going to be a lot of shofars. There's going to be a lot of shouting, as far as I'm aware, at least. What was I looking for? Numbers 29. I wrote down a bunch of verses that this is supposedly mentioned in. I'm just going to, yeah. So, again, we're mentioning Yom Teruah here in Numbers 29, starting at verse 1. And in the 7th new moon, on the first day of the new moon, you have a set-apart gathering. Set-apart gathering. You do no servile work, it is Yom Teruah. And you shall prepare an ascending offering as a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. 1 young bull, young ram, 7 lambs, a year-old, perfect ones. Now, obviously, we are not doing that. We don't have bulls, lambs, or anything right here where I'm at. So, yeah, we don't do that. A lot of people will just barbecue that day. They'll, instead of, because we don't prepare ascending offerings anymore. We don't have a temple. We don't have a high priest. And now the Jewish people may disagree with that, but we don't, because we believe in Yeshua, our Messiah. Jews typically don't. Okay, moving on. So we don't do animal sacrifices, blood sacrifices, anything like that. That is not currently done in the Torah, the laws of Moses. That's not currently done by anyone. Now, like I said, some people will have a barbecue, if you have lambs, if you are blessed enough to have property and you have your own farm, you have your own livestock, then yeah, you can do such things. You can have a barbecue, you can barbecue the whole lamb, you can burn the leftovers, and it's essentially an ascending offering, although you're not supposed to do certain things, and that's for you to do your own research on, really. So that is the second time in the Torah, the books of Moses, the law of the Father, the Most High. That is the second or third time, actually, it was mentioned just in the Torah. So this is one of the things you're supposed to do. We are in a celebration here. This is a celebration, a feast, a holiday, if you will, for Him. And He wants you to do it. Okay, let's go into the next one. It's all the way down here somewhere. Looking for it. There we are. And that's going to be 3. Just checking right now because I'm not sure I wrote that down correctly. Yeah. In the book of Ezra, chapter 3, verse 6. From the first day of the 7th new moon, they began to offer ascending offerings to Yahweh. But the foundation of Hekal of Yahweh had not been laid, and they gave silver to the stonemasons and the carpenters, and food and drink and oil to the people of Sidon and Soar, to bring cedar logs from Lebanon to the sea anyway. It is Yom Teru. It is. On the first day of the 7th new moon, they began ascending offerings. So where were we back in Leviticus? Let's just go back and let's remember here, Leviticus 23:23. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th new moon, on the first day of the new moon, you have a rest and remember Teruah." That's what they're doing. They're doing it throughout this. They're doing it throughout the book. I mean, I can keep going. In the Psalms, I'll let you do the Psalms. 47:5, 98:6, and Psalms 100. Look it up, because this is going to be getting kind of long anyway. I'm going to go through one more. Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, starting at verse 1. And when the 7th new moon came, the children of Israel were in their cities, and all the people gathered together as one man in the open space that was in front of the water gate. And they spoke to Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the Torah of Mosheh, which Yah had commanded Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the Torah before... Sorry about that. And Ezra the priest brought the Torah before the assembly of both men and women, and all who could hear with understanding, on the first day of the 7th new moon. Now, we just read Leviticus again, the first day of the 7th new moon. Same holiday. And he read from it. in the open space in front of the water gate from morning until midday. He read the Torah all day. Well, half the day. From morning until midday. Before the men and the women, those who could understand, and ears of all the people listened to the book of the Torah, or the Torah. And Ezra the scribe stood on a platform of wood, which they had made for the purpose. They made this platform just for this. And beside him on his right stood Madiah, and Shema, and Aniah, and Uriah, and Hikkiah. Well, yeah, I'm just going to skip the names. All right, verse 5. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people. He opened the Torah in the sight of all the people. Now, this was before the new covenant. So this was before Messiah came. So this was before the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were even conceived or written or thought about. Well, they probably were thought about, because if you read the prophets, but that's a different story. Anyway, he opened it up, all the people, and when he opened it up, all the people stood up, and Ezra blessed Yahweh, the great Elohim. Then all the people answered, Amen, Amen, while lifting up their hands, and they bowed their heads and worshipped Yahweh with faces to the ground. and Yeshua, Joshua. These are a bunch of names. And they read the book of the Torah of Elohim, translating to give the sense and cause them to understand the reading. This is verse 8. So people were translating different languages for all the people of the area that spoke different languages. You remember the city of Babel? That's Genesis 12 or 13. Don't quote me. I think it's 12 or 13, maybe 11. Somewhere right in there at the beginnings of Genesis, the city of Babel. Yeah, all the languages were mixed up. Everybody were babbling because nobody knew what they were saying. So they have all the different languages here. They have people that are translating all the different languages, translating the Torah so everyone could understand the Father's law to them. And Nehemiah, who was the governor, and Ezra the priest, the scribe, and the Levites, who taught the people, said to all the people, "This day is set apart to Yahweh your Elohim. Do not mourn or weep," for all the people wept when they had heard the words of the Torah. People were crying, and they was like, hey, don't do that. This is a day of celebration. This is a day of remembrance. This is a set-apart day, a holy day to your Father for you to celebrate. Verse 10, then he said to them, "Go eat the fat, drink the sweet, and send portions to those for whom none is prepared. For this day is set apart to our Master. Do not be sad, for the joy of Yahweh is your strength." Do not be sad, for the joy of Yahweh is your strength. And the Levites were silencing all the people, saying, "Hush, for the day is set apart. Do not be sad." And all the people went to eat and to drink and to send portions and make a great rejoicing, because they understood the words that were made known to them. And that's what we pray for. That's what I pray for a lot, for understanding. So all the words, understanding and discernment of all the words that I read in this book. I pray for that a lot. All right, that is Yom Teru. That is the biblical holiday that is coming up next at the time of this video. Hopefully this video gets online today. You will know this before tomorrow. And if you don't have a shofar or a trumpet or a horn from a kosher animal, it's pretty, isn't it? It's not as, I mean, I've seen some that are like huge, that are massive. But if you don't have one of these, that's okay. Use your voice. You can use your voice. It's not, you know, the purpose of this is to try to do these things. Nobody in the history of man, save one man, has kept the word of the Torah perfectly. One man did it. Can you guess what his name was? Most know him as Jesus. His name was actually Yeshua or Yahshua, from my understanding. Alright, so I'm going to stop this video right here. This will be the end of it. I'm going to give you a sound of this thing if I can. You kind of got to go a lot. I'm still practicing, so if I get this wrong, yeah, if I blow your eardrums out with it, I apologize for that too. Yeah, I'm practicing. I'm getting there though. I've only had it for a few weeks, but I'm getting there. I really enjoy blowing it. I find enjoyment in it. So that's what we're doing today, or at the end of today, according to my word. We are finding joy. We are celebrating. We are shouting. We are blasting our shofars. We are going to have a set apart gathering of all your people. You're going to have a feast. That's what you're supposed to do. And yeah, it is a rehearsal, because we're going to be doing this when Yeshua comes back. We are, and he is coming back. Just, you know, we don't know when, but he'll be here sooner or later, right? All right, I'm out. See you later. Shalom.